We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Vielleicht nur aus dem Ausland.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Showbiz.
And I'm Heem Kaursar, and on the show, in retaliation to the killing of Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has vowed harsh punishment for Israel. Israel has not commented on the attack yet. However, Iran's supreme leader has issued an order for Iran to strike Israel directly, further raising the spectre of a wider war. We'll bring you all the updates on this on the show today.
Also on World DNA, in the United States, as the race to the White House heats up, Trump in the latest has questioned Harris' racial identity, a comment that has sparked controversy. We will bring you all the latest on that as well. Let's start with the headlines.
Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei issues order to strike Israel in retaliation for Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh's killing in Tehran. New York Times reports, according to 3 Iranian officials briefed on this order.
Amid threat of Iran's call for revenge, Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will respond forcefully to any attack on it. His forces will exact a heavy price from any aggression on any front.
Hezbollah confirms that its senior commander Fuad Shukr has been killed in Israeli strike on southern suburbs of the Lebanese capital. Israel blamed him for the July 27th attack on Golan Heights that left 12 children dead.
Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump questions racial identity of his Democratic rival Kamala Harris at a convention for black journalists. White House calls the comments insulting.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro says he is willing to share evidence of his election win after international pressure mounts for him to back up the disputed victory that has sparked deadly protests.
Two killed in rain-related incidents in Delhi. All schools closed as India's meteorological department issues red alert, heavy rainfall. 10 flights diverted.
Search and rescue operations intensify in Kerala's Wayanad district as death toll due to landslides rises to 200. Army says it has recovered over 80 bodies and rescued nearly 1,000 people.
No grand farewell for Rafael Nadal at his beloved Roland Garros. The kings of clay, Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz, crash out of the men's doubles at the Paris Olympics after defeat to American fourth seeds Rajiv Ram and Austin Krajicek. Fear of a wider war in West Asia is growing by the hour. In retaliation for the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has issued an order for Iran to strike Israel directly.
Right, and this according to 3 Iranian officials briefed on this matter. Israel is prepared, citing crushing blows to Iran proxies, including Hamas, over the past few days. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said the country will respond forcefully to any attack aimed at it. Iran and Hamas have accused Israel of the assassination. The 62-year-old was assassinated in what Hamas described as a treacherous Zionist raid on his residence. The Palestinian group's deputy chief in Gaza, Khalil al-Haya, said that the missile that killed Haniyeh struck him directly. Israel has neither acknowledged nor denied killing Haniyeh.
Hundreds marched across the occupied West Bank. Also in Lebanon, Iran and Turkey carried out protests against the killing of the Hamas chief. Even as tensions mount, the US says that it does not see an escalation of conflict as inevitable.
We don't believe that an escalation is inevitable, and there's no signs that an escalation is imminent. But I also said that we watch it very, very closely. I also said, and said again today, that this is something that we've been concerned about since the 7th of October. It's not like we're brushing off concerns at all. We're watching this very, very closely, and it's been a chief concern of the president.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres labeled the attack on Tehran as a dangerous escalation of the conflict in the Middle East. His spokesperson said, I'm quoting here, the Undersecretary urges all to vigorously work towards regional de-escalation in the interest of long-term peace and stability for all.
An emergency Security Council meeting was convened on Wednesday. The meeting witnessed US and Iranian diplomats exchange barbs. Robert Wood, the US ambassador, claimed the country was not aware of or involved in the killing of Hamas leader Haniyeh. Wood also warned against speculating on the impact of the Hamas leader's killing and what it would have on peace and security in the West Asian region.
Every member of this council should call on Iran to stop arming, advising, and financing terrorist groups, and to rein in the actions of proxies and partners who threaten regional peace and security.
Ali Bahraini, the Iranian ambassador, blamed the United States, saying Hania's killing could not have occurred without its authorization and intelligence.
The Security Council has failed in its duty to maintain international peace and security, and a draft press statement proposed by Russia in condemning the Israeli atrocious act was blocked by the United States, United Kingdom, and France.
Meanwhile, Hamas is not ready to give up. Khalid Mishal is the top candidate to take charge as Hamas chief. The 68-year-old served as the group's exiled leader in the 1990s. He became known around the world in 1997 after Israeli agents injected him with poison in a botched assassination attempt in Amman.
Of course, as we just heard here, the United States has been worried about a wider war since the beginning of the conflict that was on the 7th of October. For more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has also sent us this report. Let's listen to this.
The White House has expressed concern over reports of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh's assassination in Iran, saying, quote, it doesn't help with the temperature going down amidst efforts to reach a ceasefire deal. National Security Advisor John Kirby acknowledged the complexity of the situation, emphasizing the need for a ceasefire agreement that includes hostage release. However, Haniyeh's killing has significantly chilled prospects for an imminent agreement, with Qatar's prime minister questioning how mediation can succeed when one party assassinates the negotiator, blaming Israel. The incident has also escalated tension, with Iran vowing retaliation and the U.S. maintaining a level of readiness to preserve national security interests in the region and to defend Israel. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Now, Iran says it won't let Haniyeh's blood go to waste. Hezbollah and Hamas have vowed that the killing of Hamas' political leader has taken the war to a new dimension.
On the other hand, Israel says it is ready for any eventuality. Will there be a direct Iran and Israel confrontation? That's what our next report decodes. Take a look.
Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh's assassination has put West Asia on edge. Hamas says Haniyeh's killing would take the battle to new dimensions and have major repercussions. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has put the blame on Israel's doorstep and vowed revenge. Soon after the statement, a red flag was unfurled on the Jamkaran Mosque, symbolizing that blood has been spilt unjustly and it must be avenged. Israel has not accepted or denied the killing, saying that it is ready for any eventuality. So amid all the concerns over an all-out war between Iran and Israel, how do the two militaries compare? Iran has one of the strongest militaries in West Asia. It has 610,000 active soldiers, which far outnumber Israel's 170,000 troops. What Israel lacks in numbers, it more than makes up in its vast technological edge over Iran. Israel also has a massive defense budget compared to Iran. Israel also has the latest air fighting machines. It has American F-16s and F-35 stealth combat jets. Israeli jets have regularly shown their firepower in operations against militants in Lebanon, Syria and Gaza. Iran has an upper hand with 2,000 tanks compared to Israel's 1,400 tanks. However, the numbers don't reveal the real picture. Israel has a state-of-the-art fleet of Merkava tanks, while the bulk of Iran's tanks are Soviet-era models bought in the 1990s. Again, in terms of armored vehicles, Iran has over 65,000 compared to Israel's 43,000. Again, Israel's military vehicles are much faster and sleeker compared to Iran's. Though at a technological disadvantage, Iran's military could have a significant stockpile of ballistic and cruise missiles and cheap unmanned aerial vehicles or drones, some it deployed against Israel on April 13th. But Israel can respond to the Iranian barrage with airstrikes of its own. Iranian air defenses are far less developed than Israel's multi-layered war machinery. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
All right, for more on this, we're now being joined by Colonel David B. DeRoche. He is a professor at Near East South Asia Center for Strategic Studies, National Defense University. So thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you. I want to start by asking you, the United States has said that it does not see an escalation in this war as inevitable. But given the history, how far do you think we are from direct confrontation between Iran and Israel?
Well, we've never really had a large-scale direct confrontation between Iran and Israel, and there's been tensions before. So Iran has one overwhelming strategic imperative, and that is to prevent an attack directly upon Iranian cities and Iranian lands, a large-scale attack like they have in the 1980s in the war with Iraq. So I think that Iran will continue to operate through its proxies and basically let its Arab subordinates carry the brunt of the fighting and the dying as they've done before. That's a winning formula, and I don't think they're going to deviate from it.
Colonel, given the kind of statements that we've heard coming in from Iran, they are vowing a strong retaliation. And if I were to just combine that and take that in the backdrop of the fact that Haniyeh was in fact assassinated in the heart of Iran. It wasn't done in Qatar, where he was usually based, or in Turkey, where he used to visit. It was done in Iran. Given these two facts together, do you still feel Iran will continue functioning through its usual course of using the proxies, or do you feel it will now at least get involved directly?
Well, I tell you, you do raise a good point there, and I should have noted it earlier. So the attack was in the official presidential guest quarters, which is right next to the Sadabad Palace. It's part of the presidential compound in Tehran. And I just saw a photograph of the area. I mean, they managed to hit with pretty great precision what was going on there, indicating that, first off, the attack was probably launched from a close building, and secondly, that they had pretty good an intelligence source probably within the highest ranks of the Iranian government. So that's embarrassing. And the caveat should be, I spoke of Iran's strategic imperatives, but Iran is embarrassed. Iran's leaders are embarrassed. The Revolutionary Guard, which is an incredibly corrupt force, has a catalog of failures. After the death of Qasem Soleimani, they shot down a civilian airliner departing from Tehran International Airport. The Israelis managed to steal 2 tons of nuclear documents from within Tehran, from a secure facility. It goes on and on and on. Meanwhile, the Revolutionary Guard controls 45% of Iran's economy. So there are some irrational factors here, and this embarrassment and humiliation might lead to a response that is outside of Iran's strategic interests.
Right, sir, absolutely. As you mentioned, this comes as an embarrassment for Iran, and we were earlier speaking to other experts as well who say that this points to Iran's failure to protect Haniyeh. That being said, now the Supreme Leader has ordered direct attacks on Israel. How do you assess that? Do you think Israel is equipped to deal with the wider war?
I think in extremis they are, but what Israel would do would probably be, if they felt Iran was attacking them directly and could not be constrained, is they would probably launch a pretty significant strike against Iran's core interests, the main centers of governance and the nuclear program. Recall that after the massive Iranian missile and drone attack on Israel rather, Israel's response was extremely precise. They destroyed the state-of-the-art, the most modern air defense weapons headquarters, the S-300, with that guarded Iran's nuclear program. So they basically just went in and said, this is your most expensive, most important system, and they just destroyed that. So I think Israel has the ability to inflict significant punishment, and I think that a significant part, I think we have to look at the Supreme Leader's pronouncements and realize that some of it is for domestic consumption, given the humiliation that his regime has just suffered.
All right, Colonel, thank you so much for joining in and sharing all your insights. Of course, you come with a great history of understanding and of this entire region. It's always a pleasure getting your insights on matters. Thank you so much. That was Colonel David B. DeRoche joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Iran-backed Hezbollah has now confirmed that senior commander Fuad Shukr has been killed in an Israeli strike on the outskirts of the Lebanese capital.
Now, Shukr was the senior-most figure from the group to have been killed in nearly 10 months of conflict with Israel. Now, the strike hit the southern suburbs of Beirut, which is a Hezbollah stronghold. 5 civilians, 3 women and 2 children were killed in the attack, according to Lebanon's health ministry. Now, this is the second time that the area had been struck since October last year, when Hezbollah and Israel began trading fire in parallel with the Gaza war.
Israel announced that they killed Shukr, accusing him for an attack on the 27th of July that left a dozen youngsters dead in Golan Heights. His body was recovered from the rubble in South Beirut today.
The United Nations convened an emergency meeting of the Security Council. In the meeting, Rosemary DiCarlo, the Under-Secretary General for Political and Peace-Building Affairs, said the situation across the Blue Line and in Lebanon was increasingly worrying. Meanwhile, citing rising tensions between Israel and Hezbollah, the United States urged its citizens to not travel to Lebanon. The U.S. State Department raised its travel advisory to level 4, which says do not travel.
Now, Ukraine has received the first F-16 fighter jets that it has sought for months to fight back against an onslaught of Russian missile strikes. The United States has also been training Ukrainian pilots on how to fly the jets and has already graduated the first group of pilots in this operation.
Now, the fighter jet is equipped with a 20mm cannon and can carry bombs, rockets and missiles. Meanwhile, NATO allies had also announced that they started transferring F-16 jets to Ukraine. Denmark has committed to donate 19 jets in total, while the Netherlands has promised to deliver 24 aircraft. Both countries have been driving forces behind an international coalition to supply Ukraine with F-16s. Norway has also said that it would donate 6 F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine later this year. Analysts and officials say the F-16s will not alone prove a turning point in the war, but F-16 jets delivery is a victory for Zelensky and will help protect against Russian strikes. But they are not a one-stop solution for gaps in the country's air defenses. Zelensky in May had said that Kiev needed up to 130 F-16 fighter jets to secure air parity with Russia. Russia has exploited gaps in Ukraine's air defenses to carry out devastating strikes on civilians and infrastructure,
as well as to pummel Kiev's troops on the front lines, which leaves the country desperate for additional protection.
Former US President Donald Trump launched a racially insensitive attack against Democratic presumptive nominee Kamala Harris.
Now, Trump questioning Harris's racial identity at the National Association of Black Journalists annual convention said that his opponent for the White House happened to turn black a number of years ago.
So, I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
Responding to Trump's remarks, Harris' campaign communications director said that the hostility Trump showed on stage is the same hostility he has shown throughout his life and throughout his campaign for president. The White House also issued a statement calling Trump's remarks against Harris insulting.
I'll add this. Only she can speak to her experience. Only she can speak to what it's like. She's the only person that can do that. And I think it's insulting for anybody. It doesn't matter if it's a former leader, a former president. It is insulting. And we have to put, she is the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. We have to put some respect on her name.
Since the start of her campaign, Harris has encountered repeated sexist and racist attacks online. However, despite all this, Harris continues to identify herself as a black and South Asian American and is the first black Asian American US Vice President.
The interview in front of a gathering of 1,000 journalists started on a tense note in Chicago when the moderator asked Trump as to why should black voters support him despite a history of racist comments. Trump's appearance at the convention also received backlash from some members, prompting a co-chair to step down.
A number of activists also started protesting outside the hotel where the convention was taking place, saying that Trump is not welcome in the nation's third largest city.
Meanwhile, hours after questioning Harris' identity, Trump held a rally in Harrisburg, his first return to Pennsylvania since the rally in Butler where the assassination attempt took place. Trump continued to attack Harris throughout his speech, hitting out against her record on immigration, crime, bail reform and gun control.
Now, Myanmar's military junta has extended the country's state of emergency by 6 more months, dealing promised elections again.
The country has been in chaos since the February 2021 coup, which ended a 10-year period of democracy and sparked protests and armed resistance.
The junta has faced significant opposition and recent defeats to an alliance of ethnic minority armed groups. The state broadcaster reported that the decision to extend the emergency was unanimous among the National Defense and Security Council. The junta chief, Min Aung Hlaing, argued that more time is needed to prepare for valid and accurate ballots for the promised elections, which may happen now in 2025. The military took power after accusing the 2020 election winners, Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy, of fraud.
Since then, the state of emergency has been repeatedly extended as the junta battles various established ethnic minority armed groups and newer pro-democracy People's Defense Forces. There have been significant losses in recent months for the military. Ethnic groups have captured key towns.
According to the United Nations, clashes between the military and its opponents, it's forced 2.7 million people to flee their homes since the 2021 coup. More than 5,400 people have been killed and 27,000 arrested in the junta's crackdown on dissent.
The junta promises elections in 2025, but critics doubt they will be fair. The junta's stacked election commission announced that the National League for Democracy would be dissolved as it failed to register under a tough new military drafted electoral law. Sudan's Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan reportedly escaped an assassination attempt after a drone strike targeted an eastern Sudanese army base during his visit.
This is the moment when the drone struck. Take a look.
This is the moment a drone strike interrupted a graduation ceremony at Eastern Sudan Jibate Army Base on Wednesday. Eyewitnesses told Reuters that the attack targeted the base during a visit by Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who survived the attack. Videos shared on social media and verified by Reuters showed soldiers marching in graduation exercises before the attack. A statement by the army said the attack took place about 62 miles from the army's de facto capital, Port Sudan, in Sudan's Red Sea state, and that 5 people were killed. An advisor to the leader of the Rapid Support Forces, the army's rival in the war, denied the paramilitary force was responsible for the strike. War broke out between the RSF and the regular army in April 2023 over plans to integrate the two forces. The conflict has sparked the world's most severe humanitarian crisis, leaving half the population grappling with food insecurity and displacing over 10 million people from their homes.
Shortly after the attack, the head of the armed forces was seen greeting officers, seemingly unmoved by the incident. He also delivered a speech at a military graduation ceremony.
We have to put an end to those rebels who terrorize the Sudanese everywhere. We salute you, and through you, we send messages to our people everywhere that we will not retreat, we will not surrender, and we will not negotiate with any party, no matter who it is. There is nothing that scares us. We do not fear drones, or else we will not die except in our day, and everyone's fate will come in its certain day. That's why we will move with our heads high, and we will fight with pride. We will not surrender.
And with that, it's time now for a short break.
Don't go anywhere. This is World DNA. We will be back after this break. On the other side, lots more to bring to you. The Indian state of Kerala is witnessing a major calamity as deadly landslides in the Wayanad district are said to have claimed over 200 lives. This after torrential rains triggered massive landslides in the area on Tuesday.
Also on the other side, heavy rainfall lashed India's capital, New Delhi, prompting the Indian Met Department to advise residents to stay indoors unless absolutely necessary.
Violent crime rate in South Africa shoots up, igniting fear and concerns among the major cities of the country, even as authorities uncovered illegal military-style training camps with 95 Libyans in Mpumalanga. The Democratic Republic of Congo releases 420 prisoners from its largest and most overcrowded prison after images of dire conditions posted to social media by a recently freed journalist sparked widespread outcry. And Cape Town talent shines in graphic reboot of classic opera Wild of Africa at these times on WION.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Vielleicht nur als Imposant.
Welcome back to World DNA. Thank you so much for staying with us. Lots lined up for you on this side of the show. Let's start by looking at the headlines first.
Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei issues order to strike Israel in retaliation for Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh's killing in Tehran. New York Times reports according to 3 Iranian officials briefed on the order.
Amid threat for Iran's call for revenge, Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will respond forcefully to any attack on it. His forces will exact a heavy price from any aggression on any front.
Hezbollah confirms that its senior commander Fuad Shukr has been killed in Israeli strike on southern suburbs of Lebanese capital Beirut. Israel blamed him for the July 27th attack on Golan Heights that left 12 children dead.
Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump questions racial identity of his Democratic rival Kamala Harris at a convention for black journalists. White House calls the comments insulting.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro says he is willing to share evidence of his election win after international pressure mounts for him to back up disputed victory that has sparked deadly protests in Venezuela.
Two killed in rain-related incidents in Delhi. All schools closed as the Indian Met Department issues red alert for heavy rainfall. 10 flights diverted.
Search and rescue operations intensify in Kerala's Wayanad district as death toll due to landslides rises to 200. Army says it has recovered over 80 bodies and rescued nearly 1,000 people.
Brazil's all-time leading goal scorer Marta walks off in tears after a red card in a 2-love defeat to Spain at the Olympics. This could be the 38-year-old's final appearance for the national team.
The Indian state of Kerala is witnessing a major calamity as deadly landslides in the Wayanad district are said to have claimed over 200 lives.
This after torrential rain triggered massive landslides in the area on Tuesday. A massive search and rescue operation is underway.
Now, the South Indian state is witnessing one of its biggest disasters. Mud and water swept through tea estates and villages in Wayanad as heavy rains triggered multiple landslides, flattening houses, uprooting trees and destroying bridges. Among the worst hit areas were Mundakai and Churamala.
The first landslide occurred there at 2 a.m. local time on Tuesday, followed by another landslide at 4:10 a.m. local time. Hundreds of rescuers have continued to be pulled out from under the deposited silt and debris. Around 1,000 people have been rescued, with over 3,000 having shifted to 45 relief camps.
There are a few houses which are still under the rubble, which we are not able to manually reach. So we have moved one JCB, that's engineering earth moving equipment. And as about an hour ago, with the JCB effort, we were able to lift up the rubble and the fallen roof of one of the houses and we pulled out 2 bodies from there now. But as I was saying earlier, now the chances of too many casualties are much lesser. I think the worst is behind us now.
The Indian Met Department has issued an orange alert for Kerala, forecasting more rains. Heavy to very heavy rainfall is likely to occur at isolated places in Kerala till the 1st of August. Heavy rainfall is also predicted for the 2nd of August.
The Indian Army has set up a command and control center in the area to monitor the rescue operations. Advanced light helicopter from Indian Navy's Kochi are supporting operations in the district. The Indian Navy has also deployed ground teams, divers and medical personnel as part of the larger efforts. Even though adverse weather conditions due to incessant rain continue to pose great challenges. Two have been killed in heavy rainfall which lashed India's capital Delhi, prompting the Indian Met Department to advise residents to stay indoors unless necessary.
The advisory specifically warned against visiting areas prone to waterlogging. The national capital experienced significant waterlogging following an intense bout of rainfall, resulting in major traffic snarls, disruptions across various regions. Around 10 flights have been diverted from Delhi to other cities.
The IMD also issued a red alert for Delhi for the next 24 hours. They forecast moderate rainfall with thunderstorms and lightning in various parts of Delhi as well as surrounding NCR. Rain conditions are expected to persist until the 5th of August. Other regions in NCR have also experienced thunderstorms and light rain.
Delhi's Lieutenant Governor Vinay Kumar Saxena has also urged officials to remain vigilant amid the heavy downpour.
The weather department also stated that the showers are likely to cause slippery roads, low visibility, disruption in traffic and localized waterlogging in low-lying areas. In light of the forecast, all government and private schools will remain closed today.
The Indian Meteorological Department has issued a red alert for Delhi, warning of heavy rainfalls over the next 24 hours. Now, according to IMD, moderate rainfall accompanied by thunderstorms and lightning is expected in North Delhi, Central Delhi, New Delhi, South Delhi, Southeast Delhi, East Delhi and the National Capital Region. Now, these rainy conditions are forecasted to persist until August 5th. The weather has already led to significant waterlogging in several parts of the city, now prompting authorities to close schools today as a precautionary measure. The IMD's alert serves as a critical warning for residents to stay cautious and avoid non-essential travel. This weather pattern is also affecting other areas in the NCR, which has experienced thunderstorms and light rain. The ongoing situation calls for heightened awareness and preparedness among the people of Delhi.
All right, imagine you've been given the dream opportunity of going on a space expedition for a few months, but when it's time for you to come back, you're told that you're stuck there indefinitely.
And of course, that too without a date set for your return. A complete nightmare. But for astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams, it is a reality that they are living through. These test pilots were supposed to be on the orbiting lab only for a week, and the return was set for mid-June. But due to reasons including thruster failures and helium leaks on Boeing's new Starliner capsule, they've been in space for much longer. NASA's Commercial Crew Program Manager Steve Stitch said on July 25th that missions managers are not ready to announce a return date.
Lots of cheering here in the room.
We don't have a major announcement today relative to a return date. We're making great progress, but we're just not quite ready to do that. The team is doing great. The joint Boeing and NASA team is doing well. They're working side by side with each other every day. We're methodically working through the data, and we'll come home when we're ready.
Stitch acknowledged that backup options are under review. SpaceX's Dragon capsule is another means of getting NASA astronauts to and from the space station. After the space shuttles retired, NASA hired private companies for astronaut rides to the space station and paid Boeing and SpaceX billions of dollars. This was Boeing's first test flight with the crew on board.
All right, next up, let's start by looking at developments from technology. Founder of crypto social media platform BitClout has been charged with wire fraud and selling unregistered securities by the US Securities and Exchange Commission and the Department of Justice. Nader Al-Naji was arrested in Los Angeles following a wire fraud charge and civil claims against him. Al-Naji envisioned BitClout as a platform combining Bitcoin culture with social media. However, authorities claim that he deceived investors who invested hundreds of millions of dollars into BitClout. Instead, millions were allegedly diverted to Al-Naji, his family and some employees. Al-Naji began developing BitClout in 2019, presenting it as a unique social network that encouraged investors to monetize their social media profiles.
As per a report, Indians collectively spent 15 billion hours, on hold during customer service calls in 2023. This resulted in an estimated economic loss of $55 billion. New research by the AI platform ServiceNow reveals that an individual spends over a day each year waiting to resolve issues or complaints. Additionally, the average employee needs 3.9 days to address each customer problem due to sluggish service processes. Industry experts warn that Indian businesses could lose up to 2/3 of their customers in 2024 if they do not improve their service speeds.
Dutch researchers have introduced the country's first drone laboratory, which focuses on developing autonomous miniature drones. These drones are designed to assist humans in detecting gas leaks in factories and participating in search and rescue missions. Inspired by the natural behaviors of ants, bees and birds, the scientists aim to mimic these creatures' flocking instincts in their drone technology. Currently, the drones rely on external infrastructure for guidance, which tracks their positions relative to each other. However, the researchers envision a future where these drones will operate fully autonomously, capable of functioning in unprepared environments without external assistance.
All right, World Cup borrowing binge is weighing on Qatar's banks. The government is now looking at how to shore up local banks' balance sheets as they wrestle with rising loan losses.
And this is following the 2022 World Cup. We deep dive into the banking crisis in Qatar in this next report. Take a look.
The initial excitement around Qatar's hosting of the World Cup is beginning to dissipate, as the country's state-backed lenders face increasing financial losses. Banks provided funding for various infrastructure projects, including highways, hotels, stadiums and sewage systems. A Bloomberg report quoting sources showed the Qatari government is currently thinking of ways to boost the financial positions of these banks. The government is looking at hiring restructuring advisors, purchasing troubled real estate holdings from banks hit hard by defaults, or pressuring smaller businesses to merge. While the Qatari government has never allowed a domestic bank to fail, limits on the $510 billion sovereign wealth fund may be imposed this time. This comes when Qatar's worldwide image is reaching unprecedented heights. To help finance any assistance for the banks, the government could also limit payments from its budget surplus to the Qatar Investment Authority. Qatar's International Media Office said in a statement, the state of Qatar's economy is strong and well positioned for the future, and this includes the banking sector. The statement added, the average ratio of non-performing loans has remained within the expected range since Qatar hosted the World Cup in 2022. The statement comes despite banks wrestling with a rise in problem loans in the aftermath of the World Cup. In contrast, regional peers have seen a drop in the share of soaring debts. Qatar astonished everyone by winning the right to host the 2022 World Cup. With a mere 4,500 square miles spread out across a peninsula that extends into the Persian Gulf, this little nation is smaller than a US state. However, the country's enormous gas wealth has granted it immense influence in the global arena. By the end of the decade, it is aiming to control approximately 25% of the world's liquefied natural gas. Qatar has also been lauded by the US for its role as a mediator between Israel and Hamas, which resulted in the release of some hostages. Qatar has now become a global negotiator. The 2022 World Cup was a major catalyst for the country's global influence. However, the total cost to host the World Cup was around $300 billion and is now weighing on domestic banks. The government relied on hundreds of real estate developers and construction companies to complete the projects. As a result, these companies accrued substantial debts from local lenders for project financing. Qatar ranks as one of the richest countries on a per capita basis. So the government has the ability to shore up struggling banks. What measures are taken will be interesting to note. Business Bureau Report. WION World is One.
Reports suggest that Indian tech giant Infosys is facing a massive tax demand of approximately $4 billion from the country's tax authority. The demand stems from services received by Infosys from its overseas branches.
And this was between 2017 and 2022. The tax department claims these services constitute the import of services and are subject to tax under the reverse charge mechanism. This means Infosys, as the recipient of the service, is liable for the tax. The company, however, disputes this claim, asserting that GST is not applicable to such expenses. Infosys maintains it has fulfilled all tax obligations and is in compliance with regulations. The company points to a recent government circular exempting services provided by overseas branches from GST. Despite this, the tax department has initiated further investigations. The demand comes at a time where Infosys is reporting growth, with net profits up 7.1% and revenue up 3.6% in the last quarter.
The Infosys tax case highlights the complexities of GST for Indian tech companies. The RCM mechanism at the center of this dispute has been a point of contention for many businesses. Former Infosys CFO Mohan Das Pai has criticized the tax demand, calling it outrageous and questioning the government's interpretation of GST. The outcome of this case will have significant implications for the tech industry as a whole, influencing tax policies and compliance measures for other companies. There will be no grand farewell for Rafael Nadal at his beloved Roland Garros.
The kings of clay, Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz, have been sent packing in the men's doubles competition at the Paris Olympics by American fourth seeds Rajiv Ram and Austin Krajicek.
Now, Nadal had fallen in the second round of the men's singles to his great rival Novak Djokovic, and this was his final shot at ending a legendary Roland Garros career. Nadal is a 14-time singles champion at the French Open, and he had with him the reigning French Open champion Carlos Alcaraz as they took on the double specialists. Nadal was broken in the first game of the match, and Alcaraz was off his game as he made error after error, including back-to-back double faults, which allowed Ram and Krajicek to bag the first set. The second set was more competitive as the two Spaniards dug in with the crowd on Philippe Chatrier firmly behind them. Ram and Krajicek handled the hostile crowd expertly and broke the Spaniards in the seventh game of the second set. Nadal and Alcaraz saved one match point before an ace from Krajicek confirmed a 6-2, 6-4 win for the fourth seeds.
They will meet Czech pairing Thomas Mahak and Adam Pavlesk in the semis. Nadal received a standing ovation as he waved goodbye to the faithful, with Alcaraz patting him on the shoulder as they walked off court. And now we take a look at the latest updates from the world of showbiz. South Sudanese Australian model Adut Akech has revealed that she is expecting her first child with Samuel Alke. In an interview with the media, she said, and I'm quoting her, "I'm good, I'm excited, I can't wait. I'm like, can they just come already?"
Akech added that pregnancy has been a beautiful feeling but a mental and physical roller coaster. Akech made her first major fashion week debut in 2017 in St. Lawrence Spring-Summer 17 show. She has also walked for designers Stella McCartney, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Valentino and Burberry.
Elizabeth Taylor, The Lost Tapes, is all set to release this month. Documentary filmmaker Nanette Burstein has revealed that her film will reveal a vulnerable side of the superstar. The film includes many of the recordings covered by archival video and movie clips of Taylor, who started acting as a young child. The makers have confirmed that they have relied on authentic tapes and not artificial intelligence for the film. Elizabeth Taylor, The Lost Tapes, will release on the 3rd of August on Max.
Squid Game Season 2 finally has a premiere date. The streamer also announced that the hit Korean drama has been renewed for a third and final season. Season 2 will drop on December 26th, while the third season will premiere in 2025 next year. Now, the first season of Squid Game had received 6 Emmy Awards.
You might know Jason Momoa for his charismatic portrayal of Khal Drogo in the Game of Thrones, or perhaps his role as Aquaman in the DC Extended Universe. But there is more to that, more to the man than meets the eye.
Well, as the actor turns 45 today, we get you some lesser-known facts about the Dune star. Take a look.
Born in Hawaii on August 1st, 1979, Jason Momoa was raised in Iowa. He pretended he worked as a model to score his first acting gig. Speaking about his debut, Momoa's first acting gig was Baywatch Hawaii. The actor appeared in 44 episodes of the show, and it laid the foundation for following acting opportunities. The next fact may come as a surprise to many, but did you know that the film star is 6 feet 5 inches? It's tough to tell watching him on screen. Talking about heights, Momoa is an